the overhead cost and how much payroll is being paid out as far as like matching it to schedules and ensuring that billing for your services compared to how much you're paying out internally are being looked at, and that you're obviously making, profit off of those jobs to cover what your overhead is. This could be a few things when it comes to matching how your work week is to when your pay period is. Sometimes it can be very confused as far as how overtime should be calculated versus what your pay period is that matches what your check date is. Those are some things that definitely get missed. And then, as changes happen within the company or operational things change, management is different as well. You find that some of those mistakes are being caught after the fact because of new ownership or new management or new payroll person. They're then, checking to make sure that everything matches what's in the handbook to versus what the state laws are and then what's actually happening. So there are some times where there's some discrepancies on how work weeks are calculated or how overtime has been calculated for those checks. Some of the things that are also kind of missed is maybe the layout of certain checks, depending on how states update, because you can get updates from the states throughout the year. They're not always just cut and dry in the beginning of the year. Some happen in October, some happen in July. So really understanding changes that happen within your state to make sure that you're effectively making those changes within payroll as well. Some certain states didn't have vacation and now they require it, or some didn't require it to be on the check stubs and now they do. So knowing how those type of things have adjusted so that way check stubs are always current with the current laws. And then maybe just a little bit of scheduling, things that kind of get missed and need to be revisited as far as, how many days they're working consecutively rather than giving them a break in between, or if they have split schedules and things like that. Most changes that happen that alarm clients are pay rate changes. Not so much with like PTO and stuff because it doesn't normally change that often. It happens every so often here and there, but it's really the pay rates because they change different times of the year. It could be that state has made a change, but the city isn't changing, or the city is a little bit higher than what the state chooses to increase on. So that can be definitely alarming. California is one of them where they change the state, but then each city then changes their rate. And then within that city, there's different zones. So like LA is a really big, city. And within that city, different zones, and depending on what zip code you're in will determine what pay rate you have, which then will also adjust salary employees and how much they are being required to pay versus hourly employees as well. So pay rates, I think, is one of the biggest ones that definitely blindside clients and happen so fast, especially for those staffing companies where, they're staffing at warehouses and things like that, where they are being paid less than, but then depending on the zip code may determine that their pay rate might be higher than the state or the federal law. I don't think I would change really anything. I think that I would probably just have more available information and resources to clients, whether you're with a PEO, whether you're a small business and doing it on your own, or whether you're a large corporation. Just really having it to where it's, a lot easier for clients and business owners to get the information. There's so many different sites out there. There's so many different experts. There's so many different people that can assist you, with having a CPA or, certain people within your business, legal counsel and stuff could definitely assist you in that sense. But having it to where it's really easily accessible is one thing that I absolutely would change. I do find that it is very difficult to try to find information if you're not really aware of what sites to use or how to compare the information and who to reach out to for that expert advice. I feel is pretty lacking, or at least being able to have somewhat more guidance when you start a business, maybe telling small businesses that they can be a part of a payroll community within their area, or there are payroll associations to where you can get notifications, you can get newsletters, you can be a part of the community to where you're updated and you get to discuss those similarities within other business owners that may be in the same industry or maybe in an industry that you're trying to go into. I think the knowledge and the information definitely needs to be available a lot more and a lot more accessible to clients. And I think that that would help set them up a lot better throughout their time of their business.